I dare you to watch all 25 of these golf disasters without cringing at least once. From world number ones forgetting how to put to drunk fans creating chaos at major championships, these moments transcend golf and enter the realm of pure public humiliation. Think you've had a bad day on the course? Wait until you see what happened when Sergio Garcia took 5 consecutive shots into the water at Augusta National, or when a Masters champion 6-putted from 3 feet away. These aren't just bad golf shots, they're career-defining catastrophes played out in front of millions. By the end of this video, your own golf mishaps will seem trivial by comparison. But before we move on, thanks for tuning in to our channel. 87% of you watch but don't subscribe. Hit that button and support the channel. It's quick, easy, and means the world. Now, let's get back on the video. Remember when you were a kid and your parents told you to never give up? Well, Phil Mickelson might have taken that advice a bit too literally at the 2021 Valero Texas Open. There he was, standing on the 18th fairway after a perfect drive, the gallery watching expectantly, commentators praising his setup. Phil had that trademark confidence, shoulders back, slight smile, completely unaware of the disaster about to unfold. His first approach shot sailed gracefully through the Texas sky before finding a watery grave. Disappointing, but recoverable. Phil set up again after taking his drop, the crowd holding their breath in anticipation of his redemption. Splash. Another ball drowning in that same hazard. The gallery's cheers morphed into uncomfortable silence, punctuated only by whispered, "Is this really happening?" conversations. His famous determination now working against him, Phil lined up another attempt. The result? You guessed it, another splash. Each failed attempt triggering the next like a chain reaction of misfortune. By this point, the commentators had exhausted their vocabulary of ways to describe a meltdown. What can you say when a 6-time major champion implodes like a weekend hacker? The scoreboard flashed an almost unbelievable quintuple bogey on a par 5 from one of golf's living legends. What made this moment particularly painful wasn't that Phil was fighting for the lead or attempting some heroic recovery. He was stubbornly refusing to accept reality. The cameras captured his face as he walked to the next tee, that unique blend of confusion and "let's pretend that never happened" expression that's instantly recognizable to anyone who's ever picked up a golf club. The Masters tournament isn't just golf. It's a cathedral of the sport where players whisper and fans politely applaud. Then there's Billy Horschel, who decided tradition was overrated in 2021. Before his creek misadventure, Horschel's frustration had been building visibly at Augusta. At the 7th hole, cameras captured him violently slamming his wedge against his golf bag repeatedly, the metallic clanging echoing across the hushed fairway. His face flushed crimson, knuckles white around the grip, a display of raw emotion that made Masters officials shift uncomfortably in their seats. The 13th hole transformed his deteriorating round into Masters legend. Finding his ball perched precariously near Rays Creek, Horschel rejected the conventional penalty drop. Instead, like an impulsive character in a golf comedy, he kicked off his shoes, meticulously rolled up his pristine white pants, and prepared for his creek expedition. Augusta National's slopes challenge players wearing specialized golf shoes. Barefoot, Horschel was setting himself up for disaster. As he gingerly stepped into the creek, his feet immediately lost traction on the slick, mossy surface. Down he went, splashing and sliding like a novice ice skater, landing squarely on his backside in the muddy creek bank. His immaculate white pants now sported a massive muddy stain across the seat. The gallery erupted in poorly suppressed laughter. Even Phil Mickelson, his playing partner, doubled over as Horschel attempted to salvage his dignity. The cameras captured everything: the slip, the fall, and Horschel's mortified realization that this moment would follow him forever. The thing about pressure in golf, it doesn't just make you fall in creeks, sometimes it makes the simplest shots impossible. At Celtic Manor in 2010, Hunter Mahan faced a basic chip that professionals could execute blindfolded, but with an entire nation watching and the Ryder Cup hanging in the balance, his hands told a different story. The Americans had mounted an incredible comeback on Sunday, clawing their way back into contention after trailing for most of the competition. The Ryder Cup, golf's most prestigious team event pitting Europe against the United States, had reached its climactic moment. As the matches concluded one by one, everything came down to a single showdown: Graham McDowell versus Hunter Mahan. The entire team's hopes rested on Mahan's shoulders. On the critical 17th hole, with McDowell holding a 1-up advantage, Mahan's tee shot landed safely. All he needed was a routine chip shot, the kind that's second nature for a tour professional, to put pressure on the European. But something went terribly wrong. The chip barely lifted off the ground, traveling a pitiful distance before stopping well short. It resembled a nervous novice's attempt rather than a polished professional's execution. His teammates stood frozen, their expressions changing from hope to horror as their comeback dreams collapsed. European fans began celebrating as their victory became imminent. When Mahan missed his next putt, it became official. Europe had retained the Ryder Cup. What followed was heartbreaking. Mahan sitting alone at the press conference, fighting back tears as he shouldered the entire blame for America's defeat. While Mahan's chip shot disaster came from the pressure of competition, sometimes golf's most embarrassing moments happen when players accidentally wage war against the course itself. In 1999 at Bay Hill, Davis Love III found himself in a greenside bunker on the par 4 17th hole. A challenging position, but nothing a pro couldn't handle. After his first bunker shot sailed over the green into the fringe, Love was understandably frustrated. As he prepared for his next shot, his wedge tapped down into the sand and struck something metallic. The distinct clang signaled immediate trouble. Water erupted skyward like a geyser, shooting several feet into the air. Love had struck a sprinkler head directly with his club, triggering an unexpected water feature on the golf course. The perfectly manicured putting surface transformed into a miniature lake within seconds. Love's face displayed a perfect mixture of shock, confusion, and disbelief. Players, caddies, and tournament officials scattered as water continued gushing from the broken sprinkler. The green flooded rapidly, creating a scene more fitting for a water park than a prestigious golf tournament. Television cameras captured the entire impromptu fountain show, while maintenance crews rushed onto the course with squeegees and pumps. Spectators who came for golf witnessed something between a plumbing disaster and performance art. The remarkable conclusion to this soggy saga came when the water was finally shut off and the green somewhat restored. Love regained his composure and somehow managed to save par on the hole, proving his ability to perform even after causing an unplanned water hazard. From grace under pressure to disgrace under pressure. At the 2013 Travelers Championship, the sacred bond between player and caddy was shattered on live television when Bubba Watson's tee shot found water, and he made sure everyone knew it wasn't his fault. Leading the tournament at the par 3 16th hole, Watson was just a few good swings away from victory. The tension was high, but professionals are expected to handle pressure. What happened next left viewers stunned. As millions watched, Watson's shot sailed into the water hazard. With CBS cameras capturing every moment, Watson turned on his caddy, Ted Scott, with a fury that made commentators fall silent. Water. It's in the water. That club. That's the right yardage. The right club. That didn't do what you think it did. That's not the right club, Watson said, his accusation clear. The disaster was Scott's fault, not his. Scott stood there taking the verbal lashing, unable to defend himself as Watson continued. One fan later tweeted, "Lost all respect for Bubba today. No caddy deserves that treatment." The uncomfortable scene continued through the next hole. After taking a drop, Watson hit his next attempt over the green. His triple bogey on the 16th, followed by another bogey, dropped him from tournament leader to tied for 4th place. The scorecard damage paled in comparison to the hit his reputation took. Fellow pros and fans immediately condemned Watson's treatment of his caddy, cementing this moment as the textbook example of how not to behave when things go wrong, especially when all evidence suggested it was Watson's swing, not Scott's club selection, that caused the water ball. Golf has unwritten rules that every fan and player knows. Don't talk during backswings, replace your divots, and never ever speak ill of Augusta National. Turns out nobody shared that last one with CBS broadcaster Gary McCord before the 1994 Masters tournament. And boy, did he find out the hard way. Augusta National holds a revered status where tradition and decorum are paramount. Broadcasters are expected to maintain the same level of respect in their commentary as the venue commands. McCord, with his colorful personality, apparently missed that particular expectation. During the broadcast, as players navigated Augusta's notoriously slick putting surfaces, McCord crossed the line with his vivid descriptions. "These greens are so fast they look like they've been bikini waxed," he casually remarked on air. At most venues, such a comment might earn a laugh. At Augusta? Pure sacrilege. McCord compounded his error when he described the mounds behind one green as body bags, words that horrified the green-jacketed members watching the broadcast. The reaction came with lightning speed. Before the tournament concluded, Augusta National officials contacted CBS executives with an unmistakable ultimatum. Gary McCord would never again broadcast the Masters from their property. No negotiation, no exceptions. Despite nearly 3 decades passing and McCord making several attempts to mend fences, the ban remains firmly in place. To this day, he has never returned to broadcast golf's first major championship of the year. Unlike Augusta National's quiet banishment of Gary McCord, the 2014 Ryder Cup at Gleneagles saw Patrick Reed deliberately make himself golf's newest villain. While McCord committed the sin of colorful commentary, Reed committed what many considered an act of sacrilege against the unwritten codes of golf etiquette. The setting was perfect for drama. Reed, a relatively unknown face on the tour, played singles against Henrik Stenson amid hostile Scottish fans whose jeers echoed across the course. One particularly brutal heckler had been reminding Reed of a crucial missed putt from the previous day. When Reed sank a pressure-packed putt, something inside him snapped. Instead of a traditional fist pump, he turned directly toward the European gallery, placed his finger to his lips, and aggressively shushed thousands of fans. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Garden-variety heckling transformed instantly into a football stadium atmosphere. Boos cascaded down like a floodgate of European anger had opened. Reed, however, doubled down, strutting around the green and cupping his ear toward the gallery, inviting more abuse like a heel wrestler taunting the crowd. The NBC broadcast booth fell into momentary shock, with Johnny Miller finally breaking the silence. I don't think that's going to help his cause much. The understatement of the tournament. Most cringeworthy was Reed's fundamental misreading of crowd psychology. His attempt to silence thousands of Scottish golf fans achieved precisely the opposite effect, turning them collectively against him with an intensity rarely seen in the genteel world of professional golf. While Patrick Reed made an enemy of thousands, Brooks Koepka managed to anger something far more powerful, the unforgiving spirit of golf itself. The 2020 PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park was setting up perfectly for Koepka, who entered the final round just 2 shots behind Dustin Johnson. With 4 major championships already under his belt and gunning for a 3rd straight PGA Championship win, Koepka's confidence crossed into arrogance. When reporters asked about his chances in the pre-round press conference, Koepka delivered an assessment that left the golf world stunned. "A lot of guys on the leaderboard I don't think have won a major," Koepka said with a dismissive wave. "I guess DJ has only won 1. I don't know a lot of the other guys that are up there." This was a direct shot at Johnson, a fellow American and former world number 1 who Koepka apparently thought lacked the mental fortitude to close out major championships. CBS cameras captured Johnson's stoic reaction when told about the comments before his round. He offered only a tight smile and short response. "He's won 4, so he's got me there." Then came Sunday's reckoning. The golf gods responded swiftly. Koepka's swing abandoned him completely. The man who had dismissed his competitors suddenly couldn't find a fairway, missing drives and struggling with basic approach shots. His expressions grew increasingly frustrated as he posted a disastrous final round 74. The perfect irony, 23-year-old Colin Morikawa, one of those nameless competitors Koepka had dismissed, played flawlessly, securing the Wanamaker Trophy. Johnson finished second. Koepka plummeted to a tie for 29th place. If karma punished Koepka for his arrogance, golf sometimes delivers its most brutal lessons to those who least deserve them. In 1979, Ben Crenshaw, a man whose magical touch on the greens had earned him the nickname Gentle Ben, faced a moment so terrifying it defies explanation. Standing over a routine 15-foot putt at the Western Open, Crenshaw struck the ball with his signature smooth stroke. It missed. No big deal. Even the best putters miss occasionally. But what happened next transformed an ordinary day into golf's most inexplicable horror show. His tap-in for par lipped out. Then another short putt missed, and another. With each stroke, Crenshaw's legendary touch abandoned him completely. The gallery fell silent, witnessing something that seemed impossible. A putting maestro suddenly unable to perform the fundamental skill that defined his career. The video footage remains almost unbearable to watch. 7 consecutive putts, most from point-blank range, refused to drop. Crenshaw's expression morphed from confusion to disbelief to profound despair, as if watching his identity dissolve before his eyes. By the time his ball finally disappeared into the cup, Crenshaw had recorded a devastating quadruple bogey 8. The meltdown so thoroughly shattered his confidence that he immediately withdrew from the tournament after completing just 9 holes. What makes this collapse particularly haunting is that it struck at Crenshaw's very essence as a golfer. It was watching a virtuoso musician suddenly forget how to play their instrument. In a game of inches and nerves, even the most gifted can lose their magic in an instant, without warning or explanation. You might think the dreaded yips only happened to weekend golfers, but in 2016, 4-time major champion Ernie Els showed the entire golf world just how cruel this game can be, on the very first hole of the Masters. Augusta National's opening hole is intimidating enough. When Els stepped onto that first green in regulation, he faced only a simple 3-foot par putt. For a player of his caliber, this was practically automatic, something he'd done successfully thousands of times before. The first miss was surprising. The second, concerning. By the third attempt, the gallery had fallen into that uncomfortable silence reminiscent of a theater during an unexpected pause in performance. Each subsequent stroke became more hesitant, his confidence visibly evaporating with every failure. ESPN's commentators struggled to find words as this surreal scene unfolded. One of golf's smoothest swingers suddenly couldn't execute a putt that most children could make at the local mini golf course. After 6 excruciating attempts, Els finally holed out for a 10. A quintuple bogey. His Masters was effectively over before it had truly begun. His tournament derailed in the opening minutes of the first round. The cameras caught everything. The missed putts and Els' face cycling through confusion, embarrassment, and that 1,000-yard stare that signals a golfer battling the mysterious demons of the yips. There was nowhere to hide, no commercial break to provide a merciful interruption. What made this moment truly difficult to watch was seeing a beloved champion completely exposed and vulnerable in real time, his legendary skills abandoning him on one of golf's grandest stages. Golf's ability to humble champions isn't limited to putting disasters. In 2013, Hudson Swafford experienced perhaps the most bizarre penalty in professional golf history when his practice swing, not even his actual shot, somehow managed to cost him a stroke. The odds of what happened next are so astronomical that most golfers wouldn't believe it if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. Standing in the fairway at the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship, Swafford was preparing for his approach shot. He performed a routine practice swing, something golfers do countless times without consequence. As his club cut through the grass, something extraordinary happened. The divot, that chunk of turf his club removed, flew through the air and struck his ball. The movement was minimal, barely half an inch. In any other sport, this would be inconsequential. In golf, this rare occurrence triggered Rule 18-6, one of the game's most merciless regulations. A rules official delivered the stark verdict, 1-stroke penalty for causing his ball to move, regardless of intent. Television cameras captured the sequence perfectly. Swafford's initial disbelief, followed by the slow dawning realization that this freak accident would count against him. His expression silently conveyed the incredulity that a mere practice swing could result in a penalty. The truly painful aspect wasn't simply the stroke added to his scorecard, but the complete randomness of the situation. Swafford gained 0 advantage. There was no intent to cheat. It was pure, terrible luck that the rules punished anyway. A perfect example of golf's unyielding adherence to its regulations, regardless of circumstance. Sometimes the most embarrassing moments in golf have nothing to do with the players themselves. When Webb Simpson claimed his first major championship at the 2012 US Open, his crowning achievement was hijacked by arguably the strangest intruder in golf history. There, Simpson stood at Olympic Club in San Francisco, ready for his post-victory interview with NBC, the culmination of years of hard work, the defining moment of his career. Then suddenly, a man with a painted face crashed the broadcast, positioning himself directly between Simpson and the camera. The prankster made bizarre squawking sounds into the microphone and flapped his arms wildly while a stunned Simpson and veteran broadcaster, Bob Costas, looked on in complete disbelief. The champion's expression told the entire story, a mix of confusion, amusement, and utter bewilderment. Security had somehow failed at their primary responsibility. As the Birdman continued his performance, viewers witnessed the surreal spectacle unfold in real time. When security finally sprang into action, the intruder resisted, creating an awkward physical confrontation just off camera while Simpson and Costas attempted to salvage their interview. For the USGA, this was a nightmare scenario. Their flagship tournament, known for its decorum and prestige, had been momentarily transformed into a bizarre sideshow. The organization was reportedly horrified that their champion's moment had been overshadowed by a prankster in face paint. Simpson, to his credit, handled the chaos with remarkable composure. After the Birdman was removed, he quipped, "Enjoy the jail cell, pal," a line that became almost as memorable as the intrusion itself. If you think standing on the first tee at Augusta is uncomfortable, imagine sitting in a press conference while one of your teammates publicly dismantles your captain's leadership strategy. After the Europeans handed Team USA a decisive defeat at the 2014 Ryder Cup, what should have been a standard post-tournament press conference transformed into 5 minutes of pure, unfiltered awkwardness. Phil Mickelson, without even being directly asked about team strategy, launched into what felt like a prepared takedown of Captain Tom Watson's leadership approach. The real kicker? Watson was sitting just a few feet away, arms crossed, staring straight ahead as Phil's words hung in the air. "We had a great formula in '08. I don't know why we strayed from it," Mickelson said, praising former captain Paul Azinger's approach while implying Watson had failed the team. The cameras panned across the faces of other American players, some staring at their shoes, others looking like they were mentally calculating the fastest escape route from the room. Media members physically squirmed in their seats, exchanging glances that screamed, "Is this really happening?" They witnessed the story unfolding in real time as Mickelson aired the team's dirty laundry in front of the world's press. Watson, a 65-year-old golf legend with 8 major championships to his name, maintained a stone-faced expression. His silence created a vacuum that made Mickelson's critique even more deafening. For a sport that prides itself on decorum and handling matters privately, this public ambush violated every unwritten rule in the golf playbook. Golf has a special way of exposing even the most dominant players at their weakest moments. In May 2024, the golf world watched in stunned silence as Nelly Korda, the undisputed #1 female golfer in the world, faced a collapse so dramatic it seemed almost surreal. The 12th hole at Lancaster Country Club during the US Women's Open should have been just another stepping stone for Korda, who had been crushing the competition with remarkable consistency. Coming off 5 victories in her previous 6 tournaments, her precision and mental fortitude had made her seem almost invincible. Instead, this par 3 became the site of an unthinkable meltdown that would haunt her highlight reel for years to come. It started innocently enough, a tee shot that found the water hazard. No big deal. Professional golfers take drops and move on dozens of times in their careers. But when Korda set up for her next attempt, something had clearly shifted in her normally rock-solid mental game. The second shot sailed into the water, then incredibly, a third. The NBC broadcast team fell silent, that uncomfortable quiet that emerges when there's nothing positive left to say. Each splash was met with pained expressions from announcers witnessing the world's best female golfer repeatedly failing to clear a water hazard that weekend players manage routinely. By the time Korda finally found dry land and 2-putted, the damage was catastrophic, a 10 on a par 3, leaving her a staggering 12 shots behind the leader. In 15 minutes, she had transformed from tournament contender to footnote, her confidence seemingly evaporating like morning dew on summer grass. In the world of professional golf, there are misses, and then there are moments that make you question everything you thought you knew about the game. The 2022 Arnold Palmer Invitational delivered one of those reality-bending instances when Jon Rahm, the world's top-ranked player at the time, faced what should have been the most routine of tasks. Picture this: a putt so short you could measure it with your smartphone. 10 inches. The distance from your knuckle to your wrist. In friendly weekend rounds, these putts are picked up and counted as good. That's how automatic they are. Rahm approached his ball with the casual confidence of someone who'd made thousands of these putts throughout his career. No practice stroke needed, no careful reading of a non-existent break. Just a quick, one-handed tap, the golfing equivalent of a basketball player's free throw routine. Then it happened. The ball left his putter face without enough force, rolling to a stop halfway to its destination. Like a clock that just stopped ticking, everything froze. The crowd's collective gasp was audible even on the broadcast. Rahm stood motionless, his brain seemingly unable to process what his eyes were telling him. The genuine pain of this moment came from Rahm's casual approach. barely setting his feet before that soft tap transformed a forgettable moment into a highlight destined for golf's eternal blooper reel. The gallery stared in stunned silence as Rahm quickly tapped in the remaining distance, his body language screaming discomfort. Commentators struggled for words as slow-motion replays examined a failure so unexpected it seemed almost impossible. Commentators might have struggled to explain Rahm's tap-in mistake, but at least it only cost him one stroke. Ever wonder what a complete unraveling looks like when it happens to the most mentally tough player in golf history? At the 2020 Masters, Tiger Woods turned a simple par 3 into a scorecard-wrecking 10 that left the golfing world in shock. It started innocently enough. Tiger, the defending champion at Augusta, stepped up to the 12th hole, the famous Golden Bell with treacherous Rays Creek guarding the front. His tee shot splashed into the water. Disappointing, but hey, even champions find that hazard sometimes. What followed stunned everyone watching. Tiger took his drop and his next shot found the water again. The CBS broadcast team's voices grew increasingly incredulous. "I don't think I've ever seen Tiger do this," Jim Nantz said, his tone betraying genuine disbelief as Tiger's third attempt also disappeared into Rays Creek. Tiger's fourth attempt finally cleared the water but found a bunker. After a tricky sand shot and 2 putts, the damage was complete, a acceptable bogey 10, the highest single-hole score in Tiger's professional career. The cameras lingered on Tiger's face as he walked to the 13th tee, capturing an expression golf fans had rarely seen: complete confusion. This was a man who'd won 15 majors, including 5 green jackets at Augusta, looking utterly lost on a hole he knew intimately. Yet remarkably, Tiger would bounce back to birdie 5 of his final 6 holes that day, showing the resilience that defined his legendary career. While Tiger's meltdown cost him just 1 bad hole, some mistakes in golf have completely erased paychecks. What if I told you that the simple act of keeping your pants clean once cost a pro golfer $37,000? In 1987, Craig Stadler made a decision so innocent, so seemingly harmless, that neither he nor his playing partners thought twice about it, until a viewer at home changed everything. Stadler, nicknamed the Walrus, found himself in a precarious position at the San Diego Open when his ball landed under a tree. To make the shot, he'd need to kneel down on the wet ground. Wanting to protect his light-colored pants, he placed a towel on the ground before kneeling. The shot went off without a hitch, and Stadler continued his round. He finished the tournament tied for second place, earning $37,000, a substantial sum in 1987 professional golf. Then came the devastating phone call. A television viewer had spotted what everyone missed. Placing that towel violated Rule 13-3, which prohibits building a stance. By kneeling on the towel, Stadler had improved his position, breaking one of golf's most specific rules. The penalty was severe. Because Stadler had already signed his scorecard when officials reviewed the footage, he faced complete disqualification and forfeiture of his entire prize money. His attempt to keep clean pants ultimately cost him $37,000. The cameras captured the entire sequence, Stadler placing down the towel, making his shot, and walking away, completely unaware of the violation that would follow him throughout his career, becoming one of golf's most expensive lessons about its unforgiving rulebook. Golf courses are typically sanctuaries of decorum and respectful silence, but the 16th hole at the Waste Management Phoenix Open breaks every rule in the book. When 20,000 rowdy fans create an atmosphere more like a football stadium than a golf course, the traditional boundaries between celebration and disrespect can blur in dangerous ways. In 2018, Jordan Spieth found himself caught in the crossfire of this collision between golf etiquette and fan behavior gone wild. The contrast with traditional golf couldn't be sharper than at this stadium-style par 3, where Spieth's troubles began during his pre-shot routine. Television microphones captured the moment perfectly as a spectator shouted, "You let your whole team down last week, Spieth!" The verbal jabs escalated from there, cutting beyond good-natured ribbing into territory that made everyone uncomfortable. Spieth's visible struggle to maintain focus made the scene difficult to watch. One of golf's most composed competitors stepped away from his ball repeatedly as the heckler's voice sliced through the ambient noise. The normally unflappable Texan seemed genuinely unsettled, a rare sight from top professionals. Security eventually located the intoxicated troublemaker and began moving toward him. Even as they approached, the man continued his verbal assault, creating a spectacle tournament officials certainly hadn't planned for. The surrounding spectators, recognizing the line had been crossed, began booing the heckler themselves. This created a bizarre chorus of competing sounds that transformed the green into something resembling a chaotic sporting arena. While Spieth's heckling incident showed a player maintaining composure under pressure, what happened to Danny Lee at the 2020 US Open revealed the opposite. A total unraveling that began with a simple 4-foot putt. Have you ever wondered what it looks like when a professional golfer, someone who makes their living with nerves of steel, completely loses control on one of the game's biggest stages? Lee's putting nightmare began with a missed 4-footer, something professionals typically convert routinely. But rather than shake it off, Lee's frustration took over. The second putt slid by, then the third. With each successive miss, his technique deteriorated as his anger visibly mounted. By the fourth attempt, Lee's composure had completely evaporated. The fifth putt raced well past the hole, struck with such excessive force that it drew audible gasps from the few spectators at Winged Foot during the pandemic-restricted tournament. Finally, on his sixth attempt, the ball disappeared into the cup. A routine par had transformed into a quintuple bogey 9 in just 30 seconds. Lee's meltdown intensified as he stormed off the green. Cameras followed him to his bag where he seized his putter and slammed it repeatedly against his golf bag. Violent, uncontrolled, shocking. The self-destruction proved devastating. Lee injured his wrist so severely during his equipment assault that he withdrew from the tournament before Sunday's final round. An entire US Open appearance sacrificed not because of poor play, but because of a momentary loss of composure. A costly reminder of how quickly the mental game can unravel, even for elite professionals on golf's grandest stage. Players aren't the only ones who find themselves in embarrassing situations. From sand-covered spectators to deliberate degradation, sometimes embarrassment in golf isn't accidental, it's strategic. When Miguel Angel Jimenez found himself in trouble at the 1992 Shearson Lehman Brothers Open, he invented one of golf's most uncomfortable-looking yet brilliant recovery shots ever captured on camera. With his ball nestled directly behind a tree trunk, Jimenez faced what looked like an impossible situation. Most players would have taken their medicine with a penalty drop. Not Miguel. Instead, viewers watched in amazement as the Spaniard dropped to his knees on the turf, turned his club completely backward, and gripped it by the club head. The television director quickly zoomed in tight on this bizarre scene. There was Jimenez, both knees planted firmly on the ground, looking skyward like a sculptor suddenly reimagining his medium. His unorthodox stance created an image so striking that it would become a permanent part of golf's visual history. What elevated this moment from merely odd to truly legendary was that the shot actually worked. Jimenez somehow managed to strike the ball cleanly, advancing it back into play and eventually saving his par. The gallery erupted in appreciative applause, witnessing golf problem-solving at its most creative. In the decades since, broadcasters have made the Jimenez position part of golf's lexicon. Anytime a player faces an awkward stance or unusual lie, commentators inevitably reference the Spaniard's ingenuity, calling for Jimenez mode whenever a situation demands extraordinary creativity on the course. Creativity can save you on the golf course, but what happens when a champion's skill and experience count for absolutely nothing? Just 1 year after his triumphant Masters victory, Sergio Garcia found himself trapped in a golfing nightmare that even the game's greatest champions couldn't comprehend. A single hole that would transform from minor setback to historic embarrassment in front of a stunned gallery. Augusta's 15th hole is known for its challenging approach shot over water, but what happened to Garcia in 2018 defied logic. His first approach shot landed safely on the putting surface before a cruel combination of spin and slope pulled it back into the water. Disappointing, but recoverable. Then the truly surreal sequence began. Garcia took his drop and hit another approach. The ball landed on the green before being drawn backward into the water. His third attempt sailed directly into the hazard. Fourth attempt, splash, fifth. The ball found water yet again. The haunting consistency of each failure made the scene particularly jarring. Each attempt landed in virtually the same spot before rolling back to a watery grave. The patrons stood in stunned silence, their expressions shifting from surprise to uncomfortable pity. With each splash, television commentators' voices dropped to whispers, as if speaking normally might somehow intensify Garcia's torment. After finally staying dry and two-putting, the devastating 13 appeared beside the defending champion's name. That number signified more than a scorecard disaster. It marked the moment a champion's defense crumbled in real time. Walking off that green, Garcia's vacant stare revealed a man forever marked by 15 minutes of unprecedented golfing tragedy. If Garcia's watery nightmare might have been painful, imagine finding yourself trapped in the wilderness with millions watching as you desperately try to escape. At the 2011 Valero Texas Open, Kevin Na turned a routine par 4 into 12 minutes of footage so uncomfortable you might find yourself watching through your fingers. When Na's tee shot on the 9th hole disappeared into the dense Texas rough, he faced a critical decision: take a penalty drop or attempt to recover. His fateful choice to play from the thick brush unleashed a cascade of golfing misery unlike anything in PGA Tour memory. The television broadcast captured every excruciating moment of Na's ordeal. His first attempt moved the ball mere inches. His second yielded similar results. By his third swing, frustration had visibly set in. Na thrashed through the brush like a man fighting quicksand, each movement only worsening his predicament. At one particularly painful moment, Na's club whooshed through the air, completely missing the ball. As his stroke count mounted, the commentary booth fell eerily quiet. Broadcasters spoke in hushed tones as if witnessing something too intimate for public viewing. The cameras remained fixed on Na's private hell, documenting each grimace and sigh. When Na finally emerged and completed the hole, the scoreboard displayed an almost unfathomable number: 16, a duo-to-couple bogey, 12 over par on a single hole. The most remarkable aspect came afterward. With surprising humor amid humiliation, Na referred to his journey to the next tee as his walk of shame, a moment of self-deprecation that resonated with recreational golfers worldwide who had experienced their own meltdowns. Speaking of embarrassing moments that could have changed golf history, picture this. Tiger Woods, on the verge of completing one of sport's greatest comeback stories, suddenly crumpling to the ground not because of his famously fragile back, but because a well-meaning security guard turned accidental tackler on golf's most prestigious stage. The 2019 Masters was building towards something special. Tiger, seeking his first major championship in 11 years, had just hit his approach shot on the 14th hole during Friday's second round. As his ball settled in the right rough, fans surged forward, desperate for a glimpse of the legend. That's when disaster nearly struck. A security guard rushing to control the excited gallery made a critical error on the rain-slickened Augusta grounds. As he hurried toward Tiger, his feet went out from under him. In horrifying slow motion, he slid directly into Woods' right ankle, the same leg that had endured 4 back surgeries and knee reconstruction. Tiger stumbled forward, wincing in pain and grabbing his ankle. The collective gasp from the gallery was audible even through television speakers. Millions of viewers shared a terrible thought. Did we just watch Tiger's comeback get destroyed by a security guard? The CBS broadcast team fell silent, processing what they'd witnessed. When they finally spoke, it was only to express disbelief. The irony was stark. In trying to protect Tiger from the crowd, the security guard had become the threat. Yet Tiger not only continued playing, but birdied the hole, demonstrating his legendary mental toughness in a moment that could have derailed golf history. While Tiger escaped his mishap with a birdie and his comeback intact, some golfers aren't so fortunate when fate deals its cruelest hand. Augusta National, that cathedral of golf, has a particular way of turning minor mistakes into career-defining catastrophes. In 1978, Japanese golfer Tsuneyuki Tommy Nakajima discovered this truth in perhaps the most excruciating way possible. Nakajima was having a solid round at the Masters when he reached the par 5 13th hole. His approach shot landed safely on the green, presenting a promising birdie opportunity. Then came the critical error, an aggressive putt that raced past the hole and trickled into a greenside bunker. This minor setback transformed into golfing purgatory. Nakajima's first attempt to escape the sand failed to clear the lip, rolling back to his feet. His second attempt met the same fate. By his third failed escape, CBS commentators fell into stunned silence, overwhelmed by the unfolding disaster. Augusta's bunkers, with their beautiful white sand and treacherously steep faces, had ensnared their victim. Shot after shot, Nakajima couldn't generate enough power or trajectory to escape his sandy prison. The gallery watched in uncomfortable silence as the nightmare stretched from seconds into agonizing minutes. When Nakajima finally finished the hole, he had recorded a 13, the highest score ever on a single hole in Masters history at that time. The bunker would forever be known as the Sands of Nakajima, a monument to golf's merciless capacity to transform dreams into dust with just one misstep on hallowed ground. When we look back at all these unforgettable moments, we realize something profound about golf. It's not the perfect shots or championship victories that stick with us the most. It's the theater of the absurd that truly captivates us. That drunk fan creating a sand explosion in the bunker, or the Birdman squawking during Webb Simpson's moment of glory, these are the scenes we remember years later. They're what make golf entertaining in ways the scorecards never capture. Golf's unpredictability, those moments when plans collapse and chaos reigns, creates the memories that resonate most deeply with fans. The unexpected is what makes this game so wonderfully, gloriously human. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. If you enjoyed it, please show your support by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Thanks so much!